Hello everyone, welcome back. Welcome back to my channel. For those who are returning and for those who are new, welcome to the channel. So on this particular channel, I have certain shorts that I do, but I'm trying to keep it towards making jewelry and making things craft wise, mostly like easy jewelry projects. And today, something that's going to be pretty easy and not super expensive. Today, I'm going to knit a do tutorial about making a hat, something basic, and I'm going to show everyone the particular tools you need to do the project. This project is easy once you get it down, and once you finish the project that you choose to do, it will definitely be practical. I am not a knitter like that. I've had some novice knitting experience and some novice crocheting experience, but I'm not super great at that. So, because I'm not, I have a tool that I use that um, nowadays, well, when I bought it, it was in the kit, but nowadays you can go to something like Michael's or Hobby Lobby or even on Amazon and get them super cheap. And so what we're going to be using, and I hope that this video doesn't run long, like my beading one, which I had to cut down timelines. But basically, in order for you to get started, what you're going to need, of course, what you see here is yarn. I'm just going to make a multicolored one. You don't have to use multicolored ones. You don't have to use all the same color. You don't have to use 4 or 5 different ones. You can use one. But as you go along and you learn, you're going to learn that you're going to need a decent amount to make a hat. And if you're making a scarf, you're going to need way more than this. And maybe after we do the hat, I will come back and do a tutorial on making scarf. But you see, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different colored yarn. They have to be what they call a certain weight in order for you to do things like scarves and hats. They feel a certain way. You have yarn that is a little bit harder, almost to the point where it feels like it has plastic around the yarn. You don't want to use that to make hats and scarves. You want something nice and soft and something that will definitely keep you warm. So when you get the bundle, it usually has something wrapped around it like this here, which just came with one. And let me see if it's upside down now. This company, I bought this online. It was a little kit. Let me make sure that it's set right. So it might not always be an English company or an American company, but it should show you like and that's in Korean, but it should show you, I think all of this is in Korean, which I didn't realize until I just put this in front of the camera. Because I wanted this to be a quick tutorial. But for the most part, what it shows you is how to take care of it, how long it is, the weight of it, um, and the length usually, like the yardage. Um, and it tells you, because some projects, not product, some projects call for this size of yarn, some larger, larger and larger and larger. We have something that's called chunky yarn. And there's different type of brands, name brands that produce yarn. Like I said, you can go to any Hobby Lobby. I don't do Hobby Lobby really, but if that's in your area, that's in your area. I do mainly Michaels, and I may do I'm trying to think of the other one. It's leaving me right now. If I can remember, I will say it later on, or I'll put it in. Or Joann's. Joann's is the name of the arts and crafts store, and they definitely focus on that. Like if you sew, I'm a novice sewer, so I may do a tutorial on how to make purse or something like that later on down the line. Just something basic. I'm not a professional, but I have sewn some things. But in Joann's, they focus on sewing stuff and they focus on yarn and things like that and beads and stuff. It's like the beaded bracelet I made. So you'll find stuff like that in those places. You're going to find the tools that you need. Sometimes they have kits nowadays that have to come with the yarn and the items that you need to start your project. Now, like I said, I use a tool because I'm not a knitter like that. I can do basic knitting with knitting needles, but for me, the type of tool that I have is easier. So I'm going to move the yarn out of the way for just a second. We'll step on my board here, and I'm going to display the tool. This is what you call a knitting loom. It's rounded. Some of them are rectangular. And if I do a scarf, I might do that. But it's rounded. Some of them have 30 some pegs on it. These are considered pegs. Some of them are removable, like some of these are removable. Some of them are glued into the base of the loom. But I was going to say, oh, some of them are glued into the loom. I like the ones that you can remove the pegs because if you're doing certain projects, you might not need all of the pegs. So it's just up to your preference. This right here is to hold the yarn when you wrap, because you have to wrap the yarn around the whole loom to do the project. But this is a small one. You can't really tell up here because everything is like right in the camera's face. But this is a smaller one. This is for like a child or an adult that may have a really small head, but more so for a child that's probably no more than 10, maybe 11. If you have a small child, you might be able to some small preteen child, you might be able to. And if you have a child with a lot of hair that's tiny, maybe a toddler that has a lot of hair, or a child that's 6, or in between 6 or 11, maybe 12, that has a lot of hair but has a small head, this size would be very good. And I'm going to count the pegs. So this has 30 pegs on it. This has 30 pegs. And if I have the opportunity, like because I'm going to do multiple hat tutorials, but we're just going to focus on this. This loom also, you can make scarf. You can make a scarf on rounded looms as well as rectangular. Now you can make a hat with the rectangular loom too, if you want something quick and that's all you have. But for the hats, I recommend the rounded looms. It shapes. It's shaped like a head. It's just easier. The other items you're going to need is a hook, not a crochet needle. A crochet needle curves more. It curves under more. And I just have, let me show you the crochet needle. Looks like if I didn't put it up, oh, here it is. So this is for the knitting loom. This right here is when you crochet. You see how different the hook is? So this is a hook for crocheting, and they don't have looms for crocheting as far as I know. And this is the hook for the knitting tool, the loom that I'm using. So you want this for the loom, not this right here. You don't want that. And this is for crocheting, and maybe some I can't think of it. It's the name of the um loom work or woman. I think it's like latch something. I can't think of it, but they use something similar to this when you're doing that type of. You're making rugs and things. They have this tool similar to this, but this is for crocheting only, and they have different sizes. Um, but this one here is for the loom, and this is the one you want. And I just want to apologize in advance. I have fans on, so you might hear the fans in the background. The last item you're going to need is what they call, well, some call it a darning needle. I'm not super clear on, it's just a needle to me, but some call it a darning needle. And this right here is what we use to quote unquote close up the project. So because the loom is open like this, see, it's open, it's a big old hole. When you finish the hat, you have to close it at the top so you can wear it. Unless you're making something like a, not a bootleg turtleneck, but you can make something to put over your head. And I've done that before where you just put it over your neck, wear it around your neck, and you wear something else over it. If you choose to do that, you can. But if you want a hat, you have to close the top, and that's where this right here comes in. We use this, and we'll show you how to do that towards the end of the tutorial. Now, I'm going to get started. Now, the way that you, what we call cast on is what it's called when you get started. Before you start knitting. And so because I'm going to do multiple, because I might just do two for the tutorial actually. And the reason why I use multiple yarns is because it adds to thickness. It makes the hat thicker as opposed to using just two. But sometimes when you're wrapping the loom, if you have more than one yarn, if you're using two or more yarn bundles, it may make it difficult and tighter, and you can't loop over your yarn when you get into starting to knit. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to pick a color that may be cool, and instead of doing 4, I'll just do the 2. So I'm going to show you how to cast on. And remember I said this little tip right there that's sticking out right here. This is where you hold the yarn. It's going to allow you to hold the yarn up there for your first wrap around. So you got to wrap the yarn around the whole loom. This is going to hold it for the first round. And then the second and third round, you're going to take what they call not the working yarn. The working yarn is what you're wrapping around the loom. It's just an extension, and it's a way that you can tuck the excess yarn into your project so that it won't stick out. But I'll show you how to do all of that because I know right now I'm not making any sense for those who are new to doing knitting on a loom. And I want to also add some yarns like this where you have to, if I can get this off my finger, some yarns come where you have to unravel it like this. But some yarns have a hole in the middle and they have a piece of string where you can pull out the yarn, you pull it out, and then you can wrap it into like a little bundle, like a ball. And then you can use that how you want to do it. Because for this project, I didn't have time to wrap it up in a ball. It's already in the bundle, so I'm going to use it like this. But I did want to add that because sometimes they come like this when you unwrap it like that. And sometimes they have a little hole where you can pull the yarn out. And then you can, work like that. All right, so to cast onto the loom, you have to make a little knot, or you can wrap it. So on that little piece that sticks out where it holds your yarn, so you can go around the loom the first time. So I'm trying to unravel the yellow yarn a little bit so I can show you how to do the knot. Now, like I said, you have two options. So I'm using 2 strands, okay, this blue and yellow. And what you do is you have 2 options. You can take it, and you have to be patient because sometimes it falls off and stuff like that. Sometimes it doesn't. You can wrap it like this and then wrap around the loom. You have to hold it a little bit though, because it might slide off like that just did there. So you have to hold it. And then you wrap and wrap and wrap around and wrap and wrap around all the way around. But you see how it slides? So if you are very, if you're capable, coordinated enough to hold it, then you can do it that way. The other way is to do a knot. And the way that I do it, a variety of people have ways of doing a knot. The way that I do it is I wrap it around my hand like this, and I take the bottom slightly over. I take the one underneath the bottom that we just put over it, and I go like this, and the two tails at the end is going to come into a knot. And if you can take your time and redo it, relook at that, and it makes a knot. Then what you do is you put the knot on the tip of the piece that's going to hold your yarn while you wrap it around, and then you just pull it. If I can get it to pull without myself fall on the floor, I'll do it. You take the two ends, and then you just kind of pull it tight like that, okay? And then it'll hold up here, and it won't, for the most part, it won't come off. For the most part, it won't come off, and I'm hoping that it won't, so I can get started. So let's try it again and see if we can pull it tight. Again, so see that? Once you do the knot, you just pull that too, and it should stay. So you have a nice little knot up here. Now, you can make it tighter than what I am, but because I've done this 1,000 times, I'm just going to leave it like that because I can work with it, and we're just going to get started. All right, so as you can see, I have two colors. You don't have to use two pieces of yarn. You can only use one. You can always use just one if you want to, but I use two a lot of the times to add to the thickness, unless I just like the color. And then usually if I just want a certain color, I make sure that the yarn is thicker than this, so I don't have to use two different. So say for instance, if I only get white, I only want to use white yarn, but I want it to be thick, but all I can afford, because it can be a little pricey depending on what type of yarn you get in the brand. But say for instance, I want all white, but they don't have a thicker yarn, then I'll buy two bundles, or I'll take one large bundle. And like I said, when you have the bundles, sometimes they have it where you unravel it. You can unravel it or whatever. And then sometimes they have it where they have a hole in front, you can pull it out. So what I'll do is, if it's a large bundle, I'll pull out enough from that bundle. I'll make a little ball out of it, clip off, as much as I need, and then I'll still have enough from the main bundle to use if I need extra. And what that does is, if you have a large bundle of yarn, but you don't need the whole bundle, you just take off what you need, roll it up into a ball, and you can sit the large bundle off to the side and use your two bundles that you need to make a thicker type of hat. And then you make two little balls out of that large bundle, and you can use those little balls to have two strings like this. Like I said, so if I just want it all white, just imagine that these two are all white, so that this can be thicker. If I can't afford a thicker yarn, then I just get a big bundle of one color and make little balls out of them, put the big bundle away, and I can use those two balls to still finish the project. So, and I know I'm kind of rambling, but I'm going to do some more tutorials so we can get started. Now, hopefully I'll be able to edit it where you won't have to see me wrapping this around the loom a million times. If not, then I'm just going to put it up like it is. But to get started, I'm just going to show you how to do that from the jump, and then you can go from there. And like, if this falls off multiple times, just forgive me, but it's just to do this tutorial. So usually this little piece right here comes in between and this is going to be your starting point. This little piece right here is your starting point. So what you want to do is wrap to the right of it. That's what you're going to do. See that? We're going to wrap to the right of it, go around, and then wrap the next peg. And you can always start over if you miss it. You have to be patient because sometimes the pegs are very closely put together. And so, your fingers get stuck, the yarn will fall off. But you want to go around the whole loom and make sure both colors, if you're using two, that's only if you're using two yarns, make sure both colors are, close together and they both are going around the pegs. And so, and you want to make sure that you push it down a little bit so it doesn't come off. But luckily, this has a hook on it, so it'll be hard for the yarn to pop off the peg. Sometimes you don't have pegs like this stuff. And so you're just going to wrap around, wrap all the way around. And my advice is to be in a place where you can stabilize yourself and stabilize the loom so that you won't be dropping things and things won't be falling all over the place like this might, because I'm not sitting the greatest. I'm not sitting properly, but unstable, but I just wanted to do this tutorial. And so we're going to wrap it. And this, like I said, this is a basic tutorial in regards to making a hat. And what I do is, and what you can do, you don't have to, you can make projects for yourself, family members, children. Like I said, you want to make sure you push these down as you go because they can be a little tight. So you want to make sure you push them down a little bit. Make sure they're down enough. But you can make these projects for, and I'm going to take this off camera for just a second. But you can make, projects for your family, for yourself, friends. And what I do is I do projects every year, and I hand them out on my birthday to children in the community. And this will be my third year if I have to move and do some other things, which has been kind of crazy, but hopefully I'll be moved in time to do it. But I try to make about 20 to 18 hats and scarves if I can, and I give them out on my birthday, and so like I said, this will be my third year doing that, and I just and then I make stuff for myself. I make hats and stuff and scarves for myself as needed. You don't have to do it every day, but you do it as needed. Because it can be time consuming depending on what type of how long your scarf is, how big your hat is. Usually this takes about I want to say, because I'm going to teach you how to make what I consider a brim on the hat. You don't have to make a brim, but it does come in handy and is useful because if you don't, the stitches may come out, especially if you when you wash it and stuff like that. And the brim of the hat is cute. It's a nice little border around your forehead, but it does prevent also um, the bottom of your hat from coming out as well. So we're already back to the middle. That's the beginning. And what you want to do is you're going to leave this on for the second round, just for the second round. And I would say maybe second or third round. And then you can put it into your project, and I'll show you how to do that. So we're going to wrap it again, because what happens is with the knitting loom is what you're going to be doing is let's see if I can adjust my body so I can show you. So with the knitting loom, what you're going to be doing is, let me see where it is. Okay. You see how it's double here? You see how it's double here? Where am I? Right here. You have two, this is single. You can't knit with that. This is double right here. So you're going to take the hook and take it from the bottom and loop it over the top, and I'll show you how to do that. But that's basically all you're doing. So you have to make sure that it's two yarn strands on one peg. And I'm going to take this off camera and wrap it all the way around again, which if you do have the tools to do it, you can do it as well, and then we'll start knitting. But I'm going to go ahead and, to save time, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it around twice. So this is the second time going around. This is our second time going around the loom. And I'll show you what it looks like. And I'll show you what the first stitch, quote unquote, I call it a stitch, will look like. And make sure again that you have enough yarn, make sure that it looks like enough. You have a nice size bundle, so you won't run out of yarn, because you can't do that. All right, now, so we're going to show you what it looks like going around the second time. And we're going to show you what they call your extended and your working. So, as you can see, I've gone around. I can move this work on this extension out, this extended yarn out. But as you can see, I've gone around it twice. So you have two yarn strands on each one. And as you can see, it's blue and yellow, blue and yellow. You have to make sure the blue and yellow, make sure if you have two strands that you see two strands wrapped together, because if you miss one, it'll mess up the stitch. You'll have a big gaping hole somewhere in your project. So you want to make sure all of the yarn is wrapped on each peg. As you can see, it's blue and yellow, blue and yellow, blue and yellow. And so I wrapped it all the way around, back to where the peg is. I'll show you that. Back to where the peg is, which is your starting point. This is always your starting point, and you're going to wrap. You can wrap to the other side depending on the project, but when you're starting basic, you always want to wrap to the right of the peg. And so, so you just wrap all the way around. And now what we're going to do is we're going to start knitting, and you're going to want to take the yarn off, probably the yarn that's on that peg, your starting peg. You're going to want to take that off going into your third go round. All right, so we're going to start knitting. If my big old fingers won't be in the way, I may have to adjust the camera slightly. So, let's see. All right, so what you're going to do is you're going to take the hook. I can't really tell where, because I'm trying to do this. So here's the hook. All right, I'm on the other side of the camera. You're going to take the hook, and you see where they have these little openings right here in the middle of the pegs. It's nice to have those because some of the pegs don't. You can slide your hook in between them to gather up the yarn. It just makes it easier a lot of times. See that? And so what you want to do is, you can do that, and you don't have to, but that's how I do it because it's just easier. It's an easier fit. But you're going to take that hook, and hopefully I can get this right on the camera, and you're going to pull it slightly. You're going to make sure you have both strands. So if you're doing one strand, you just make sure you have the one. If you're doing two like me, you want to make sure that you have both of the strands. And hopefully I do. I can't really see. The lighting is always bad when I'm doing. See that? I have both strands. And you're going to just take it and pull it out slightly. And it's probably going to be a little tough because you have this here. This is holding the yarn. But I just want to get the process of it, the first process of it over so that you can see. And just keep your finger in the back of the yarn so it won't come off the peg. But as you can see, and it's going to be a little bit of struggle for me right now because I have that, and I might have to take this off because it's holding it. And the only reason I don't want to take it off is because because if you do take it off, it could possibly unravel, but I know how to fix it where it doesn't. So what I may have to do is take it off for the time being, and then I can show you because it's going to cause me a whole bunch of problems. So I'm going to take it off because it's like, oh no, you're trying to wrap me, and it's, I'm not going to allow you. So I won't have to go through all of that. We're going to take it. It'll be easier, and I need to move that out the way. And basically all you're going to do is take this and tuck it down, and this will go inside of the hat. So you won't even have to see this particular yarn anymore, and I'll show you once I pull it through. You're just going to pull it in between. And actually, I made a boo-boo. I'm going to have to start over because I didn't. What did I? Hold on. I think I did. I didn't. I'm trying to see if I did it or not. I did not. So I'm going to unravel it. And what I didn't do, because when you get to the end, when you get back to the beginning of your project, this is the last peg before you start to wrap again. So you see this peg is in the middle. So that starts a new peg and you wrap it around again. What you need to do when you get to the end, you have to take the yarn and wrap it around this yarn here. And what it does is it pulls the stitch together. Had I left it like I was about to, and I was trying to stuff this extra yarn in between it, it would have had a big gaping hole in my hat. And you don't want that. So I'm going to unravel it and then make sure I wrap it again and just make sure this wraps to start a new stitch. And this is going to go in between this steel, and you can put it in the project, but I just want to explain it to you. You wrap all the way around the loom. Make sure that when you start a new row, so we did all of this here. We did this, we did this all the way, we did the bottom all the way around, and we came back here. And then what I should have done was when I wrapped all the way around and start knitting, I'm supposed to take this very last one and then take the yarn and wrap it here, then pull it over the top. I didn't do that. So I'm going to take this off if need. Yeah, I'm going to have to take it off because I wrapped it wrong. And I'm just going to rewrap it properly, and then you'll see what I made. And so let me show you. So when we get towards the end, so this is the last peg here, right here, before we start the new. Because you know when you're starting a new row, because this is in the middle, and what you want to do is, all of this is already wrapped for the bottom. You need to start again. So you got to wrap it down here, and then you can pull this extended yarn that you use here to hold your yarn when you wrapped it the first time. You put it in the middle, then you take it and wrap it over the new or the beginning peg. So you're starting fresh to make another row. And so what happens is, really, this is your first stitch right here. This is your first full stitch. But you put that extended stuff in when you made when I made a knot to hold the yarn up here. This will go into your project. And so you want to pull that extra stuff in there. So that'll be out of your way. And this really is your first stitch right here. Then you see I wrapped it again here. And we're going to wrap it all the way back around. And then that's when you're supposed to start knitting. So I'm going to rewrap it all the way back around. So this will be the second go round. And then we can actually start to knit. And it won't be difficult like it was just a second ago, because the yarn that we knotted to hold our yarn on the little peg so we could wrap it around the first time, we've already put it in between the little gap there to get that out of the way, so you don't have to fight with that every time you wrap around, and then you can enclose that into the project. But I'm going to wrap it the second time, and this time it should be right for me to start knitting, and it won't be so difficult. So I don't want people to freak out, but you just have to remember to do that. All right, so now this is right. So now you're going to see that the peg is empty, because all you needed that yarn for when we made that knot, all you needed to do is for the bottom part, to wrap it the first time around the loom. You stick it in there in the project, as you can see right here, it's hanging at the bottom there. That's where all it is. So that's going to be inside the hat, and I'll show you how to close that off. But as you can see, now it's wrapped properly, and this is your first stitch here. This is your second stitch at the top. So we're going to try to take it over like I was trying to do the first time, but it was very difficult for me because I still had the knotted yarn up on the peg and I didn't take it off. So I'm going to go ahead and tuck it. And as you can see, it's a lot easier. You take it over and then you push it down. And that's going to be your first knit, which is going to add to your first stitch. Now the yarn that you're going to be wrapping, not the one that we made into a knot and not the one that we're putting into the project. The one that, let me move this because this is getting crazy. I already did that, so I don't know why it's doing something crazy. Give me just a second. Now I know I just put that over, but it's doing something weird. I gotta adjust it. And like I said, because I just wanted to do this tutorial, I'm just kind of going with the flow. So please don't be mad at me. But yeah, I'm just going with the flow with this one. So for some reason, when I wrapped it over the first peg to do the first stitch, the yarn somehow went backwards. I don't know what that's all about. So I'm going to wrap it again and see if we can move forward. But certain things like that happen, and I'm glad that I am recording it because at least I can explain it to you as I go. And so, but once you get the hang of it, once you get that first round up there, and then you do the second round, and then you know how to close stuff off and things like that, and you know what to look for in a stitch. You can tell whether a stitch is open, or you know you didn't wrap something properly because it has a gaping hole somewhere. You'll know once you do it after a while. And so, so I'm gonna rewrap it again. I'm gonna take it. Well, that's what it's. So it's not. So that's what it's doing. Just trying to be funny. And the problem that I'm having is the portion that we knotted to hold the yarn up there. It's wanting to be the working yarn and it's not the working yarn. So let me get this right. And then once I have it properly, and like I said, I'm gonna leave it up like this, and I'll edit it as if I can. If not, I'm not gonna make a big deal about it. And the reason being is, like I said before, you're gonna have issues like this. You're gonna come across issues like this, where you're gonna have to take the yarn off, but it's not gonna be all the time. Usually, it does not take. I don't know, maybe because I'm making the video, it's trying to be dumb, but usually it's not. I don't have this much issues with this stuff. But it's trying to be funny, so I'm gonna have to rewrap it. Here again. So I'm starting from scratch. With this working portion to 16. And I'm off camera because I'm just trying to fix it and I'm sitting this a weird way. So yeah. So I'm gonna wrap it twice again and then get started. But I mean, really, the basics I really already showed you. And like I said, you can start on a smaller loom. They have very small looms, you know, no more than 2.5 inches wide, you know, round on all sides, so that you can practice. Of course, you know, they have other tutorials and things like that as well. And then when you buy these kits and stuff too, they come with instructions, but a lot of times, not all the time, but many times the instructions are not always like the best. They can be confusing. And so they can be confusing. So trying to get this in place and being quiet so that I can fix this. And sometimes when things are tight, when your yarn is tight, you may have to go back to the stitches that you wrap and loosen them a little bit so that it'll go over, because you're going to have times when it's going to be difficult to wrap the bottom part of the yarn on top of the other part, like I'm having now. I'm really trying to get on my nerves with this, but it really, it's never really this difficult. All right, so let me see if I can wrap it again and see if we can get that together. I'll wrap it again, and then we can start finally. Maybe I already started that. Sometimes you have these little snafus, and yes, I could edit it and all that stuff, but I'm not even gonna lie. But it's bootleg. This is not something that's super professional or anything like that. This is not something that, I'm trying to be prim and proper. These are some of the stuff that you're going to run into, some of the issues that you're going to run into. And once you start doing it a lot more, you'll know how to resolve those issues. So yeah, I'm not doing it over. All right, so now, let me see if it's loose enough. All right, now I got it fixed finally. So that all you're gonna do now is you're just gonna wrap it and push it down. And you can use your hook to do it or not, but as you can see in between, they make these little stitches. So, and then you go to your next one. And sometimes, like I said, it's difficult to do. I'm not super coordinated, so I always have problems with like getting stuff done perfectly and all that stuff because it's just not me. My life is not built like that. And then you push it down and you just go all the way around the loom. Make sure though that you only have, like if you're using two, make sure you gather two colors. Now if you have like a solid color, it might be difficult for you to see. But once you learn how to do this properly, you'll be able to gauge whether you get grabbed all of your yarn. If you're using two, if you're using one, then you're fine. But if you're using two, please remember to make sure that you have both the yarn at the bottom to wrap over the top yarn that has two above you, and make sure that goes over the pig. Push it down, and you're going to tighten your project as you go along. So we go down the bottom, and this is how I pull it over. Some people are better at pulling it over than me. Whichever is comfortable for you. If you have arthritis and things like that, I would recommend that you start with um, a smaller loom. And once I do the project to make the scarf, I could show how to do something where you don't have to go around like this the whole time, because it does, not gonna lie, especially doing projects and like what I had an issue with being able to pull it over because it's so tight. It will hurt your hands. I do have arthritis myself, so sometimes I have to take a break. When you're doing a project like this, the amount of times that you're going to go around to make first the brim, because you have to make the brim of the hat first. Usually I go around the loom 10, maybe 15 times because I like a nice size brim. I like it wide enough. I don't like anything tiny that'll roll up or something like that. Some people don't mind it rolling up. I just don't like that look. So I'm going to wrap around I'm going to wrap around the loom 10 times. And so I'm just going to do a few more and then I'm going to pause the video and come back. so that you don't have to see me. I don't have any music playing or anything like that, so I don't know, you might want to have music playing or your favorite show on, whatever you want to do. Now, this is your working yarn. What you want to do is keep that out of the way. I've already wrapped this around the loom towards the other side. You don't have to do that. I like to do it in advance so I don't have to wrap as I go. And what I mean is that I have it wrapped all the way around to the other side towards the end to be ready to wrap again. So you see where the peg is, the starting peg here. But you see I'm wrapping like that. I like to wrap all the way around. You see how I wrapped it all the way around. You can go peg by peg if you want to, but just it being wrapped in advance helps you save time. But if you're comfortable with doing one peg at a time, you're more than welcome to do one peg at a time. I just choose not to do that. But be mindful though that you have to hold it while you're wrapping around and wrapping and wrapping and wrapping around. You have to hold it steady. These things don't come with stands or anything like that to stabilize them, so you're actually holding it. So just, like I said, take your time if you're not super coordinated. And as you can see underneath here, I'm glad that I turned it up. You can see that it's already turning into like a little brim right there. You see how thick it is? And it's going to just get like that. And then it's going to start to flow outside the bottom. And then, you'll see. But I'm going to go ahead and do a few more, and then I'm going to pause. And then we'll come back to show you with the brim, how to do the brim. All right, so we're going to do a few more. And forgive me if it's out of focus or out of the camera. I don't know why I set this camera up here like this, but I did. So hopefully you'll see enough of me, what I'm doing. All right. And like I said, that little indentation in the peg, you can use that to put your hook through, to push it down. Just make sure you're grabbing both the blue. If you're using two, make sure you're just grabbing both of the yarn. If you want to make the hat thicker, just make sure you're grabbing both colors and wrapping them over the top. And sometimes it's difficult. The only thing I will say about these that are already hooked is so chiseled up top here, you have to really push the yarn down. So just keep that in mind. But I'm going to go ahead and do, because we've already wrapped it twice, is we're actually starting to knit now. So really this is going to be considered your first stitch. When you wrapped it around the loom the first time, it was just to get the yarn up there. When you wrapped it around the second time, and then you're looping it over the top yarn. And so when I say top yarn, this is what I mean. So this is the first time we went around. This is the first, just to put the yarn up there, cast onto the loom, so that your yarn is up there and it's sturdy and it's stable. This, when you wrap it the second time, this is going to allow you to actually start stitching. You take the bottom and take it over top, bottom over top, bottom over top, bottom over top. You're going to go all the way around, and that's going to be considered your first stitch, which I just showed you. Not that. This right here. This is your stitching. This is not. Okay? This right here is your stitching. It's actually pushing. When you take it over the top and you push it down, you're actually locking that. You're looming it into place. You're weaving it into place. And when you push it down, you're tightening it. And so that's your stitching. So, just, want to emphasize that. But I'm going to go ahead and pause the tutorial, and then I'm going to come back after I do my 10. So like I said, keep in mind, the first one is not the stitch. The second one, and when you start looping, it's going to be your first stitch. So I consider that to be actually the first stitch. Then, so basically you're going to go around 11, well, for the brim, I say 10 to 15. For this video, we're going to do 10 rounds. But you have to include, of course, the first round that you did to cast onto the bottom. So basically, you're going to wrap the loom for your brim 11 times. So not including this, it's going to be 10 times. But this part right here is just a casting onto the loom. It's not a stitch yet. When you do it the second time, and you take the bottom and wrap it over the top, that really is going to be the first stitch around. So the reason why I say 10 because I know that I take away this bottom part because I know it's just casting onto the loom. It's not completely considered a stitch. It's just wrapping around the loom so that your yarn can be up here. But once you take this right here, you wrap it the second time and you start to loop it over the top, that is your stitching. So when I say 10 times, it's minus the first one to make your brim. So basically you're going to wrap 11 times actually, but it really is not going to be the beginning of your stitch until you actually loop the bottom over the top, which is going to be your second round around. So I'm going to finish off with 10 more rounds. And then I'm going to come back again. I know this is running long, but I really want to try to be thorough. And if you have any questions, you definitely put something down in the comments. But yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and pause and I'll come back once I do my 10.